I want to share with you the one Bible verse that absolutely changed my life, and I hope it can change yours as well. My name is Josh. I was a pastor for 20 years. For 10 of those 20, I was a lead pastor or a senior pastor, and then I retired from traditional pastoral ministry, and I shared why in a previous video. And I went quiet for a while because I just needed to sit and heal and reflect. What brought me back to sharing and teaching again was this one Bible verse. And it's a Bible verse that you might have never heard before, or it might not have been brought to your attention. And so that's what I want to do with this video. For me, the one Bible verse that forever changed the course of my life, it's Acts 2:42. And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayer. And you might be thinking, okay, what's the big deal about that verse? Well, let me show you 3 reasons why that changed my life. Well, first, I was ready for it. I had been through a difficult season, and I was really trying to understand why Christians and churches sometimes can act in a way that doesn't think, act, and love like Jesus, 2020 being a perfect case. And so I was really searching for discipleship. What was it that we're missing as Christians, as churches, where we don't think and act and love like Jesus in the way that we should? And so I came to Acts chapter 2, which is the beginning of the church. And for years, I had read Acts 2:42 through 47 as one big kind of buffet bar of all the different things that the earliest Christians did. And you can go and read it at your own time. But Acts 2:42 is not the same as Acts 2:43 through 47. And when I stopped long enough and slowed down enough to really look at the way that passage is structured, it's not just a bunch of different things, just all kind of jumbled together. There's one primary verse, and that's Acts 2:42. And then the other verses, Acts 2:43 through 47, build off of that and kind of play that out and tease that out and show examples of those 4 things in Acts 2:42. But it all drives back to Acts 2:42. So that was the first thing that really kind of opened my eyes, was I realized from a textual standpoint that Acts 2:42 stands on its own. And then verses 43 through 47 build off of that. Why is that important? Well, it's for the second reason, because I believe Acts 2:42 represents the original discipleship model of the church, which is important because I was looking for a stronger, more pure, more biblical discipleship model, because I think that 2020 just kind of shot a hole through every church's discipleship model, because Christians, like everyone else, kind of lost our minds when we didn't have to, and it was our opportunity to show people how Jesus would have acted in very difficult circumstances. We needed a better discipleship model, and I believe that Acts 2:42 represents the original discipleship model, because Acts 2:42 comes after Acts 2:41. Mind-blowing, right? Well, Acts 2:41 is when the church was born. Peter had just preached the very first sermon, and Acts 2:41 says, and those who believed were baptized, and about 3,000 were added to their number that day. So the church was born with 3,000 believers, and you had the 12 apostles, or the 12 disciples, and they had to figure out, how do we disciple these brand new believers? Many of them came from outside of the area where Jesus ministered. So many of them, I would say the majority of them, had never actually sat under Jesus' teaching. Jesus had gone back to heaven by this point. And so you've got a bunch of brand new believers who had just placed their faith in this risen, resurrected Jesus, and now had to grow in their faith. And so I think between Acts 2:41 and Acts 2:42, the disciples had to sit down and figure out, okay, what's our discipleship model? What's our discipleship strategy? How are we going to help these 3,000 brand new believers think, act, and love like Jesus? And that's what I believe Luke records, the author of Acts, in Acts 2:42, the original discipleship model, that there are 4 pieces, there are 4 components, there are 4 anchors, or there are 4 foundations of their discipleship model, how they did church at the very beginning, was they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayer. That's the original discipleship model of the church. And it changed my life because, number 3, the longer I sat with these 4 things, the more I came to the conclusion, the more I came to the realization as I studied, not just how I thought these these things, these four practices were practiced, but how I looked at how the earliest church practiced them through other cross-references in the New Testament, the more I came to the realization, the more I came to the conviction that we're not doing any of these four things the way that they did it. And that's why churches can be so dysfunctional. That's why so many people are walking away. That's why Christians can lose their minds, because our discipleship model doesn't look anything like the four anchors, the four practices of the earliest church. And that's what caused me to start this YouTube channel, to cause me to start posting on Facebook every day, to do a podcast, because I want to try to give resources for those who want to follow Jesus but might have lost faith in today's version of church, that there is a better way, that the future of the church is actually ancient, and it all comes, for me at least, it comes from Acts 2:42. It changed my life. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. And my hope is that these four practices can change your life as well. If you want a good place to start, would love to give you a free resource that kind of expands on this just a little bit. It's called A New Way to Follow Jesus. 4 simple practices to transform your life. And guess what those 4 practices are? The apostles' teaching and fellowship, the breaking of bread, and prayer. You can download it for free at www.thejesus.family/new. Thanks.